Hi, Vincent Hall, and welcome to another episode of our Featured Artist Series. This week, we're going to learn more about Mr. Barry Lowenkron. Barry joined the Art Center several years ago after much cajoling on my part when I would see him walking down the hall and peering in the art room. So he decided to give it a chance. And as you'll see, his artwork, his talent, and his investment in creating beautiful images has only grown with the years that he spent in the program. Without further wait, Mr. Barry Lowenkron. Barry, I'd like to thank you for being this week's featured artist for Vincent Hall. I know everybody's going to enjoy seeing all of your work, but first I thought you could share a little bit about you.
Well, Mel, thank you very much. But the first thing I have to do is I have to confess. I had walked by your art studio for a year,
Yes.
and of course I said to myself, you know, there's no way that Mel is going to teach me. And I kept thinking, still no way. And I walked by, and sure enough, you said, why don't you come join us? And I said, Mel, if I joined you and you thought I hadn't been painting in 40 years, you would be wrong, because I have never painted before.
That's right.
And you said, well, come along and I'll teach you. And believe me, and don't be red faced now, but I owe it all to you.
Well, I appreciate that, but I always feel like it's the inner artist. I like being a facilitator, but you had the talent in there all along. I can't create your vision. You already had it. So you just didn't know it.
Yes, I didn't know it, and I didn't know it for over 60 years.
Well, there you go. But I think what people will see when they look at your work is a definite style. And I do remember that you found Wassily Kandinsky to be one of your go-tos for his color and his art. So, I mean, not his art, of course, his art, his color and his style. So what was it about Kandinsky that really gravitated with you?
I love Bond. I love the fact that he's not really a realist, but he's also not a modernist. And he would paint these wonderful little pieces, like a back alley in Central Europe, which I absolutely loved, because it connoted for me a little alley in the heart of old Europe around the turn of the century.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I loved it.
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed his work, and I'm glad you touched on that. He's not a realist, because I feel like a lot of people, when they start with art, they feel like they have to make something look exactly like a photo, and that is totally not what art is about. So how did you come to grips with that? Like, that initial fear.
My initial fear, which was rather extensive, was that I said to myself, okay, Barry, you're here with your Mel as your teacher. It's only 2 hours a week.
How could it be?
It's only 2 hours a week. How hard can that be? And then about 4 or 5 months later, I realized that you were teaching Tuesday and Wednesday, so it was 4 hours a week. And I got to love it, and I got to love it so much that the hours look like minutes for me.
Well, that's the sign of a true artist, because I feel like when you're really immersed in the process of creating something, there is no time. Like 5 or 6 hours can go by and you don't realize it.
and it makes me very happy.
That's good.
It really makes me very happy.
Oh.
And it makes me so happy that the 5 months that I was not with you, I was miserable.
Oh, that lockdown was hard on all of us, believe me. How has your art how has your family responded to your newfound talents of painting and drawing?
They love they love it. They love it. My daughter Rebecca, this was the first year that I started painting, and my daughter Rebecca said, "You painted this?" And I said, "Yes." I mean, what you painted this picture, this portrait? And I said, "Yes, I painted them." Them or it? And I said, "All of them." And she started to cry. She said, she said, I can't believe you painted. I can't believe my dad's a painter."
Oh.
And I said, "Well, if you can believe that your dad was once a director at the White House, then anything is possible."
There it is. I knew I'd get you to talk about your career a little bit. So. Any other career moves you want to share before we look at your artwork?
I graduated from Northeastern University in Boston with a degree in psychology. And why psychology? Simple, because I had no idea what it was. and none of us did. And secondly, we all thought it was real hot stuff to just get to know each other. And by the middle of my junior year, I decided, you know what? I've done enough of psych. I came across a person named Walter Jones, who is a professor of international relations. And it was in my junior year. And I said, I approached him and I said, do you think it's too late for me to move my major? And he said, it's never too late.
Oh.
And I said, and of course I was thinking survival, because I had on hand a graduate program from Johns Hopkins University in psychology.
Wow.
And the odds of that happening were like a fish in the ocean. Wasn't going to happen.
Oh. Wow.
And so I told him, I said, look, I'm actually thinking of applying to Hopkins, but in the international relations department. And that's when Walter first told me about SAIS. He said, well, have you considered SAIS? SAIS was an independent school in 1944 that was designed for diplomats coming in the Foreign Service. And it was the brainchild of Paul Nutze and Christian A. Herter Jr. And the beauty of the school is that it's a little program. You could see School of Advanced International Studies, but the key to it was that it would not teach people what they should have known. It would teach people what they had to know and why they had to overcome these obstacles.
Ooh. Wow.
And it was very much a practicum for me.
Oh. So that's how you shifted from psych into your profession. Interesting.
And I never shifted out of it.
Oh, there you go. Never looked back, I guess. But
No, I never did.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, speaking of shifting, I thought we could shift to looking at your artwork, and you can tell everybody a little bit about your pieces that you're going to share.
This one reminded me so much of my mother in southern Italy. My mother was a 4'11" Italian woman who the two things she always remembered was about my career in Washington was, you like a new job, you make a good money, I'm happy.
Oh, that's
And
good.
and I got inspired by Kandinsky to do a painting of a back alley in Bari, Italy, in the old port city of Bari.
Hmm. Okay. Then we have this one.
This, I'd like to tell you, should be a Melanie Mobley specialty, but
Okay.
it's about 8 trees in the background, and it has shafts of light coming down, coming down to capture the green,
Hmm.
and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It is, and in fact, the last time there was an art show, I was stunned that it won People's Award.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, the People's Choice Award, rightly
Yeah.
so. I mean, I feel like it especially speaks to us now.
Well, it's hope, but there's also a thing called stillness. I
Right.
always think about stillness,
Mm.
about the quietude of nature. I love landscapes.
Mm. Well, you're very good at them. So I think here we have another landscape, totally different time of year.
Snow-colored shed in upper New York,
Mm.
with with 3 little trees on the side, and then a forest, a snowy forest.
Mm. Yeah. I always like this one because I like how the snow over here is just a little off-white, which kind of brings you into the white part in the middle of the picture.
Absolutely.
Really nice.
And I have to tell you this, every time I would remind myself that I don't really paint. You've taught me painting, because I could look at that picture, that painting, for hours. I
Mm.
just look at it.
Oh, that's good. That's a sign of success with the artist when they want to look at their work, I think. It really, there's so many things to look at in it too. So now we have another time of year that's a change.
An old boat, an old rowboat,
I love this
and
one.
the,
This is pretty.
and the bunch of leaves.
Well, but there's so much going on here with that subtle reflection in here, and it's in like the rushes, I guess, or whatever in the water. But I mean,
Yes. Oh, absolutely, in the rushes in the water.
yeah, and it
And it's by itself, all by itself, all
that's
by its lonesome self, and it's serene.
it is, and yet it's still there. I like that you signed it in the boat. It almost looks like the boat's name is your initials too. That's the
First
call.
time that ever happened.
That's right. Oh, I think that's so pretty. It has that the look in photography, we call it the golden hour, where the light is so warm and everything is rich. It's beautiful.
Well, I love that. I
Yeah.
really love that.
Oh, yeah. That's stunning. Okay, then let's see. So here we go more to like a still life.
I remember this portrait because I said to myself, okay, despite Melanie's best efforts, it's not going to work. But I kept quiet, and lo and behold, I got 3 bottles.
Mhm.
I got 2 bushes, 2 plants, the sides of 2 plants, and I got the background of beautiful blue and smoky white window pane. I remember the background, of the window pane.
Mm.
Wintertime.
Yep. It it definitely reads winter. And I also remember this was your first challenge using masking tape as part of the painting, because we masked out those thin little lines for the paintings.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
called
fun.
the TED approach.
That's right. It's one of the go-tos for TED, but I like that. Okay, now we're back to landscapes. This was an earlier one of the first ones you did.
You know what I remember about it? I remember focusing on that shed after the shed, 2 trees to the side,
Hmm.
and then green.
Which is your favorite color?
Well, for the longest time, I thought green,
Hmm.
but sunset,
Hmm.
it's sunset. It's like a light purple sky
Yeah.
with a white background,
Oh, yeah.
and I love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've really captured the silhouette of the trees there with the sunset. That's gorgeous. I think we have another sunset coming up.
I always think of sunset.
Yeah, me too.
Well, because I always think that sun, sunsets were the best time when I was a kid at the beach in Boston.
Hmm.
I loved sunsets.
Yeah, they can be spectacular and they're calming, I think. And I think you captured the colors perfectly on this one.
We done good.
Yep, this one's good. And now we go to a different lighting altogether.
This is Lowenkron, the early years.
That's right. Back when you did drawing in drawing class, had to get that in. But anyway, so you want to talk? I love the gnarliness of the tree bark on this.
I loved it so much. That tree bark, clearly it's wintertime. It's gnarly.
Mhm.
It's snowing,
Yep.
and it has a small clump of stones by the side.
Go down here. Yeah, it
and
does.
it, it's also the first time that Virginia Watson highlighted the fact for me when she said, "I just want everybody to know that for a first timer, Barry did a great job,"
Oh, I do.
and I felt really good.
Yes. Yes. Virginia definitely shared a compliment when she truly meant it and you knew it was genuine. She was wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yeah.
miss her so much.
Oh, me too. She was a wonderful asset to the whole community. Just a great woman. And then we have this one. Whoa, back into the fall.
Back into the fall. It's a river. It's like a stream,
Hmm.
and it has it has shoots and leaves of gold and amber and an orange tree background. And I like it. I like it because I just adore this landscape.
Mm. It
The
breaks the
blue,
water. Oh, the water pulls you in, I think.
absolutely.
Now we have this one, different landscape.
Oh, I remember this one. This is the one that I said to myself, "It's not going to work. It's not going to work." And I was a Debbie Downer like one of my roommates. And and sure enough, I started to use chalk, bits of chalk,
Yep.
and the chalk covered the snow. It was like bits of snow, the ice, and then the sky in the background,
Oh, yeah.
and the trees, and some of the trees in the wintertime, the fir trees.
Hmm. Yeah, captured in the mountain face there.
Absolutely.
So now we have this one, which was one of your drawings in pastel.
Yeah, one of my early ones.
Was this reminiscent of growing up in the Northeast as well?
Growing up in the Northeast, definitely, which is why growing up in Boston, The fall was my all-time favorite. I
Mm.
love the autumn.
Okay, then we have this one. This is one of my favorites. This is an early berry too, but I remember this.
I remember this because I started to paint this, and I thought, okay, a little green, and then I'll draw a little blue. I started drawing hills.
Hmm. Yep. And got that sunset in too. That's a calling card, I think.
That's my sunset.
That's
If
right.
anybody asks me what's the name of that obscure artist whose name I don't remember, I would say it's Barry, and sunset's my name, and sunset's my game.
Oh, there you go. That's a twofer. And then we have this one. Uh-oh, Sands of Sunset, but a beautiful winter scene.
You know, I forgot about that one,
Oh.
but it's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
one. It's winter scene, obviously, and it's snow,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a deep lake, and on the branch of the lake, there's some shrubs like a tree,
Oh.
white.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then the forest in the back here that's just suggested with your dark colors.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. These are all in cool tones, but I also find it's very serene.
If if anybody ever had some idea that, gee, maybe Barry can be a little bit skeptical, this proved it.
I remember.
This proved it.
Well, I think it works. I like all this heavy texture, and it's almost like a patina, the way you rub the paint into it with the brush. So I think it works. It's cliffs and then the water again, and the reflection of the cliffs in the water. And then our final one, which I think might be one of your most recent ones.
It's an autumn harvest. It has bushes in the front, and looking all the way back,
Up in here.
you could see the horizon, and in the back of the horizon, a silhouette of some trees,
Mhm.
and then way in the back, nightfall,
Hmm.
purple and blue nightfall.
Hmm. I love how the blue peeks out of the purple. It almost looks like the clouds have that purple hue, and then you see the deep blue. This one, another one that pulls you right in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really enjoyed this one. Hey, Mel,
Yeah,
what can I say? I enjoyed them all.
that's good. That's the sign of success. Gosh, Barry, thank you so much for sharing all of that artwork, mostly paintings, a couple drawings. I know everyone is fascinated by people that can do both mediums, and you're successful in both drawing and painting. I was wondering if there's any thoughts you'd like to share before we finish up.
The one thought I'd like to share is that, as I used to tell friends and family, when I when I went over to Vincent Hall, and I was a little low, as you might surmise,
Hmm.
and one of my dearest family members said, "Well, why don't you try art?" And not only did I say no, I said, "That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. There's no way I'm ever going to do art." And the artist known as Mel came into my life.
Oh. And now you're the artist known as Barry. So that's good.
And I love it. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
And there's always something, there's always a stillness quality to my artwork. There's always a quality, a landscape to my artwork.
Mhm.
With the exception of a few times when I branched out, such as the time I caught my daughter Rebecca when she was 6 years old, and it was Christmas time, and she was wearing a little tutu, a
Remember that?
leotard, and it was backwards, and she was extremely tense and determined, and she was 6 years old. And what I did was I took this every place in government, wherever I traveled, I would always take a picture of my little girl who the who once told me that, Dad, stop calling me little girl. I'm now 35.
Doesn't
So
matter.
so between us, little girl, but it's always there.
Oh,
And I learned how to paint it. And for the next one, I'm learning how to paint Harper, my son's daughter, my
mhm.
granddaughter. She turned 4 in May.
Hmm. I can't wait to see that one, and we'll have to show that on the next interview round.
Oh, perfect.
So, who has the painting that you did of your daughter Rebecca? Did you give it to her? The,
I gave it to Rebecca.
oh, what was her reaction?
She cried.
Oh,
Oh, she cried. She said, I can't believe you did this for me. And I said, Becca, that's okay. I can't believe I did this for you either.
oh, oh. It must make you feel wonderful to know your art's having such a positive effect on your family.
I am so grateful to the family. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to you and to fellow students. And every week, the 2 hours sound like 2 minutes.
Yeah, they do go by fast. I agree. It's some of my favorite 2 hours of the week for sure, each class. So it's fun. And if anybody comes down to the art room, of course, they can always catch the Lonnie and Barry show because you two have a good sense of humor.
we're trying.
It's good. Oh, gosh, thank you again, Barry, for being our feature. I really appreciate you taking the time to share all of this.
No, thank you. And thanks to everybody.
Oh, it's great.
I really appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you, Barry, for taking the time to share with us your artwork, your inspiration, and giving us a glimpse into where you grew up and how that has also resonated with your work. I'm sure the rest of the Vincent Hall community will enjoy seeing your work again as it follows in the slideshow format. Till next week, Vincent Hall, stay safe and be well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with another featured artist.